Good morning, everyone. My name is Nan Janke, and on behalf of the Parish Committee, I'd like to welcome you all to the service here at First Parish this morning. A special welcome to all of the veterans who are among us today for Veterans Day weekend, and also to their families and their friends and all their loved ones. We all owe you, all of you, a huge debt of gratitude for everything you have done for us, for protecting the people of America, for defending our democracy through many different trials and over many, many years. And not just for the time of your active service, but also after and in the years since, when you have served as role models to us for what it is to be a person of dignity and honor and willingness to get things done. May it always be so. Thank you for your service. I also want to thank any newcomers and visitors who are here with us today. I see a couple of new faces. It's always nice to see you. If you were hoping to speak to our minister, the Reverend Lisa Perry Wood, or to our Director of Religious Education, Kate Holland, I'm afraid you're out of luck today because they are, in fact, both away this weekend. However, if you make your way downstairs to the vestry during coffee hour after this service, you will find a welcome table where you can get a lot of information about First Parish, and they can help set up a meeting time for you to meet with Lisa or with Kate. In the meantime, I will share the mission of this congregation, which guides everything that we do here. The mission is fourfold. It is to build community, that's all of us, to search for meaning, to deepen our spirituality, and to make a better world. A reminder to silence your cell phones, and then to wave to the camera up here to welcome in all of our people on Zoom. Now I would like to introduce today's guest minister, the Reverend Rebecca Sheble-Hall. Reverend Becky, would you? There you are. Reverend Becky provided a short bio that I will read, and you'll get to know her better as the service unfolds. Reverend Rebecca Sheble-Hall is a community minister and the former executive director of Chaplains on the Way, which was at the time an outdoor chaplaincy to the community of people experiencing homelessness in Waltham. She has also served First Parish in Waltham for 8 years in a variety of roles. Currently, Becky enjoys the role of itinerant preacher and being ama to her grandson, Leo. And now I think Lynn Lipcon has a last announcement about a new visioning project. Lynn?
Hey, Nan.
Hey, Lynn. What's up?
I have an idea.
You do? What is it?
Well, what if every time that someone at First Parish had an idea, big, small, maybe quirky, we could drop it in a box. Is this working? Yes. Okay. I was getting at this. Closer to your mouth. Okay. What if every time someone at First Parish had an idea, big, small, or quirky, we could drop it in a box and send it to people who could actually do something with it?
You mean like a suggestion box?
Not quite. Something way better. Not just comments and suggestions, but also some big ideas, maybe for events, community outreach, comments maybe about the culture of the church or the service, whatever. And even, whoa, look at that window. I think it might be broken. It's not. But maybe you see something that needs attention.
So you're talking about a fancy suggestion box. Who do we know who could make such a thing? Who has the creativity and skill? I know. Kate Holland and Roger Wiegand could do such a thing. In fact, they have done such a thing. And it is right here. Would you pick up the box portion?
Yes.
Okay. This part's going to be a little awkward. So Kate got hold of an old-fashioned ballot box from an Army Navy surplus store in upstate New York. Another shout out to the veterans. I love that it's a ballot box. And she painted it up with a bunch of light bulbs and brainstorms kinds of thing. Then she handed it off to Roger Wiegand, who took it to his wood shop and gave it a base and this big sign. And they, Kate painted the signboard as well, and it has the name of the box on the sign. They're calling it the Idea Box. How does it look? How does it look, Lynn?
Wow. I mean, come on. This is fabulous. More than we could have ever had an idea about.
So could you explain how it works?
Sure. You have an idea. That's pretty easy. Then you get a form like this, and you fill it out with your name and your great idea and how it might work. And then you just drop it.
It's easy.
It's real easy. This apparently is not the actual one. It should fit in there.
It's so easy,
There you
even
go.
a child could do it. And we do
But I'm not a
encourage
child.
children to do this as well.
So it is easy, and we hope that you'll make use of it.
And then what happens after they put it in the box?
Well, that's the really good part. There are going to be 2 people who will take those ideas every week. They'll take a look at them, see what they are, and pass them along to people who can actually do something with the ideas.
And who are those 2 people?
Well, it happens that it's one person from the visioning committee, could be me, is me, and one from the parish committee. You.
That's me.
That's you.
So that's a good idea. That's the first one we're going to implement. We encourage you all, children and adults, to put your ideas in the idea box. You'll get a response from us. We can't promise that you'll get your every wish, but we can promise that we'll take a hard look at them and get back to you with some thoughts about how they might or might not come to fruition in the coming year. This is a trial project. What do you call it? A pilot project. So we'll get that going.
We'll be downstairs at coffee hour with a beautiful box and to answer any questions. So come on over to the table. It will be on the table in the vestry on Sundays or possibly in the sunroom some weeks. And during the week, it will be in the commons. But do come and say hello. Thanks.
Thank you, Lynn. And thank you, Reverend Becky, for your patience. I now invite the Williams family to come forward to light our chalice.
Good morning. Please join me in saying our covenant. With open minds and loving hearts, we gather to search for meaning, to care for one another, and to work together for a better world.
Good morning, good people of First Parish in Wayland. I'm so happy to be here in the church home of my dear friend, Reverend Lisa Perrywood, who I know from seminary. She left me these little jewels of love, so she's kind of with us. I was noticing that the last time I was here with you all was Martin Luther King's birthday earlier in January. And of course, we talked about Martin Luther King then, Dr. King. And you may notice that he's on for our reading again today. But I feel like you can never get too much of Dr. King, so he'll be with us today. And as a way of centering us and preparing us for this time of reflection and song and prayer together, I offer you these opening words of Reverend Leslie Takahashi. Here in this place of peace, may we find hope. Here in this place of connection, may we find life-giving community. Here in this place of rest, let the unrest of our hearts turn us towards justice. Here in this space, made sacred by memories of connection, let each of us feel ourselves part of the new that grows from the old in the spiraling unity of years. And now, if you will stand as you are willing or able, will you join me in singing our first hymn, which is number 298, Wake Now My Senses.
Good morning. Today's story is Winnie Finn, Worm Farmer by Carol Brendler. Winnie Finn was worm crazy. She loved worms. She looked under every rock in the entire Quincy County area, hoping to find wriggling worms. She knew that the longest worm is 10 feet long. She knew that worms have 5 hearts. She could always tell the head from the tail of a worm because the head's the part that moves first. She sang to worms. She took them for rides in her rickety old wagon. And she just loved everything about worms. When spring came, Winnie's thoughts turned to the Quincy County Fair. The county fair gave out prizes for all sorts of things, and Winnie wanted to win a prize too. She wanted to take the prize money and buy a new wagon to take her worms for rides in. But she wasn't sure if the county fair gave out prizes for worms. Worms, said Mr. Abernathy. Nonsense, there's no prize for worms. But this year, I'm going to raise cornstalks. My cornstalks will grow so tall they can pluck raindrops right from the clouds. If only I knew the right fertilizer to give them to make them do that. I would gladly share my prize money with anyone who could find that for me. Worms, said Mrs. Yamasaki O'Sheridan. Don't be silly, child. There are no prizes for worms. But this year, I am going to enter my Rhode Island red hens. With the right food, those hens will lay so many eggs that I will have omelets the size of rubber rafts for breakfast. If only I knew the right food to make that happen, I would gladly share my prize with anyone who could tell me that. And then she asked Mr. Peasley, who said, worms? Or I don't know, Winnie. But this year I'm entering my Afghan puppies, and I'm going to make sure their coats are so soft, silky, like slipper satin, and they will surely win a prize. If only I knew the right food to feed them to make that happen, I would gladly share my prize money with anyone who could bring me some. Now Winnie knew how to make cornstalks grow tall, how to make eggs lay tons of hens, great, and how to make puppy fur really soft and sleek. And it all began with worms. So she went to Mr. Abernathy and asked to borrow one of his crates. And he said, you can't pin a blue ribbon on a worm, Winnie. And then she went to Mrs. Yamasaki O'Sheridan and asked for some chicken manure. And Mrs. O'Sheridan, Yamasaki, whatever, said, there's no trophy for worms, Winnie. And she went to Mr. Peasley and asked to borrow his big wash tub that he gave the puppies baths in. And he said, there is no best in show for worms, Winnie. Winnie didn't pay any attention to any of the 3 of them because she knew she would soon be sharing their prize money. Soon she would have a new worm wagon. So she began by making her worm farm. She took the crate, she put in soil and ripped up newspapers and dry old leaves. That would be the worm's home. And then she mixed in all the chicken manure from Mrs. Yamasaki O'Sheridan, and that was going to be the worm food. And she filled up Mr. Peasley's wash tub and carefully poured it over everything. That was going to keep the worms moist so they could breathe easily. And so for 3 weeks, Winnie looked after the worm farm. She kept it moist. She fed them cornstalks and eggshells and carrot peelings. And she sang to them, and she took them for rides in her wagon. And finally, the day came when the worm farm was ready. She took it to Mr. Abernathy and said, spread this around your cornstalks, and they will grow so tall they can pluck raindrops from the clouds. And Mr. Sheridan did. Not get my names right today, sorry. Mr. Abernathy did. And sure enough, pretty soon those cornstalks were taller than Winnie. And he said, thank you. Is there anything I can give to you? And she said, yes, please. I would like some of the corn. And so he gave her that wonderful fresh corn with all that fertilizer underneath. And she took it to Mrs. Yamasaki O'Sheridan, who fed it to her chickens. And those chickens soon began to lay so many eggs, Mrs. Yamasaki O'Sheridan really had to scramble to keep up. And she said, thank you, Winnie. What can I give to you? And Winnie said, could I have some of those eggs, please? And she took them to Mr. Peasley. And Mr. Peasley mixed them into the puppy food, and pretty soon his puppy's fur was sleek as slipper satin. And he said to Winnie, you are so smart. Thank you. Then came the day of the Quincy County Fair, and Winnie had her fingers crossed. Sure enough, Mr. Abernathy won the prize for tallest cornstalk, and Mrs. Yamasaki O'Sheridan won the prize for the best hens, and Mr. Beasley won the prize for his puppies. Their fur was amazing. And so, with her prize money, Winnie bought the best wagon in all of Quincy County. And on her way home, she couldn't help but notice Mrs. Alluvial's drooping dahlias and Mrs. Yorkington Smith-Smythe's second-rate Plymouth Rock hens and Mrs. Marcanthony's lackluster Lhasa Apso puppies. Winnie would have to find more worms. And now our Sikh children and adults will head for their classes.
It is now time in our service that we gratefully give and receive the offering. The offering we give each week is a symbol of our commitment to this faith community and to the life and works of our congregation. Instructions on how to donate online are in the order of service. If you are here for the first time, please let the plate pass you by. You are our guest. We receive your generosity with gratitude and an appreciation of all that sustains us. Your gifts maintain the strength of this community and all it does within these walls, as well as the work we do together to make the world a better place. The offering will now be given and gratefully received. I am Kathy Schmidt, and I am a lay minister of this congregation. This is the time in our service we set aside to acknowledge the joys and sorrows that we all hold. In both our sharing and in our witness, we confirm our covenant to care for one another. We start by lighting a vigil candle in recognition of the suffering experienced around the world due to war, violence, and political division. In this moment, may we pray together for a better world. And let us light a final candle for those joys and sorrows not spoken. May we hold in our hearts those who have spoken, those they have named, and those we hold in silence. May it be so.
And I'd like to offer a prayer or acknowledgement for the relationships that your church is making through the work that you're doing today, and for the people in need, for those relationships, which ours is a relational denomination and faith. So now is a time for stillness, for meditation, for prayer. So I invite you to settle and center yourself. Maybe take a few breaths. Maybe close your eyes or look downwards. And I'm going to read you a poem which can act like a prayer from Jan Richardson called Blessing for the Brokenhearted, because I know that all of us have felt loss, have had our hearts broken in the last weeks or months by any number of things. Let us agree for now that we will not say the breaking makes us stronger, or that it's better to have this pain than to have done without this love. Let us promise we will not tell ourselves time will heal the wound, when every day our waking opens it anew. Perhaps for now, it can be enough to simply marvel at the mystery of how a heart so broken can go on beating, as if it were made for precisely this, as if it knows the only cure for love is more of it, as if it sees the heart's sole remedy for breaking is to love still, as if it trusts that its own persistent pulse is the rhythm of a blessing we cannot begin to fathom, but will save us nevertheless.
This morning's reading comes from the Oberlin College commencement address entitled Remaining Awake Through Great Revolution, delivered by Dr. Martin Luther King in 1965. All I'm saying is simply this, that all mankind is tied together, all life is interrelated, and we are all caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of identity. Whatever affects one directly affects all indirectly. For some strange reason, I can never be what I ought to be until you are what you ought to be. And you can never be what you ought to be until I am what I ought to be. This is the interrelated structure of reality.
It's a bit of a word salad, those hallowed words from Dr. King, but they meant a lot to him because they appeared first in a letter he wrote from his jail cell in Birmingham. But he used versions of those thoughts over and over again in commencement speeches and writing. So I want to read them one more time, that last part. For some strange reason, I can never be what I ought to be until you are what you ought to be. And you can never be what you ought to be until I am what I ought to be. This, says Dr. King, is the interrelated structure of reality. And I am very much a believer in this concept, this reality, as he declares it. I think I experienced it first so strongly in the chaplaincy of Chaplains on the Way with folks who are experiencing homelessness just down the road in Waltham. So as our community grew and we spent more time with folks, I missed the anthem. Why don't we just take a little break here and have some singing? Excuse me.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm sorry to have delayed such beauty. Okay, so I was talking about the beloveds down the road in Waltham. And I guess I wanted to tell you that these words of Dr. King's became really real to me. The more we got to know each other, and the more stories I heard, and the more I realized that the obstacles in front of these folks kept me and all of us from hearing their voice and having them participate in life, really. And I felt that as our loss as much as, and I really felt like I can't be, or we as a society can't be all of who we could be until those folks and all of us, all folks on the margin, can be who they ought to be. Our UU shared values of interdependence and our seventh principle honor this raw reality and the essential vulnerability of our connections to each other. Whether we are talking human to human or human to non-human, each of these relationships affect the whole of creation, and so we must be just and equitable for the whole of creation to survive or even to thrive. Okay, I know that's kind of heady for the start, but you have to remember that because that's the real point of this whole service, and we'll be circling back. But first, we must talk about lichen. I like lichen. In the woods where I walk, it grows on trees like tiny pale green clumps of lettuce hanging from the bark. Or there's that kind that grows like gray or orange band-aids tight on the rock's surface. Sometimes you can find a colorful patchwork of lichen species cohabitating together on something like the old picnic table in my front yard, or an old stone wall that borders a New England field. I like lichen because it's beautiful and hardy and a nutritious treat for animals who live in the woods, like deer and mice and chipmunks. But the coolest thing about lichen, what makes it so relevant to our UU shared value of interdependence, is something I learned in 8th grade ecology class. Lichen is made up of two different organisms, the algae and the fungus, and they are interdependent on each other for survival. It's a mutually symbiotic relationship where the fungus supplies the structure the algae needs, and the algae does the photosynthesis that supplies the food they both need. There are hundreds of mutually symbiotic relationships like this in nature. Bees need flowers to make honey. Flowers need bees to spread their pollen. We humans have interdependent relationship with the good bacteria that lives in our gut. They get free food and housing in return for helping us with digestion and boosting our immunity. All relationships within nature are interdependent. Too much of one thing or not enough of another throws off the whole health of the whole. What happens upstream affects the balance of what's happening downstream. The intricacies of these relationships amaze me. Balance is essential, and for hundreds of thousands of years, humans lived within that balance, humbly, as just one noodle in the soup. We respected and worshiped that divine as balance. That balance as divine. But zooming through the intervening history, here we are in the 21st century where the climate crisis no longer looms in our future, but is actually part of our global everyday. Clearly, the balance is dangerously off. Instead of being a noodle in the soup, we humans think we are the chef, the creator of the soup. And somehow we've convinced ourselves that the natural world sips from the bowl only with our permission. You and I are part of a faith tradition that lifts up that balance and calls it holy. At our best, we act upon these beliefs in both our individual lives and as a congregation in the community. I see here at First Parish in Wayland, you are a part of this Metro West Climate Solutions, a partnership, I think, of local organizations, many of them local UU churches, that offers programming and tools to increase people's knowledge of solutions to the climate crisis. Thanks for doing that. Our UU seventh principle, adopted in 1985, introduces us to the idea of our interdependence in this world. It calls us to affirm our respect for the individual, interdependent web of all existence, and then to acknowledge ourselves as part of it, just part of it. The wording of the new shared value of interdependence is a little more theological for me, dare I say religious, because it calls us to have reverence for that web and to acknowledge with humility our place in it. Now, I'm no dummy. I know any UU minister runs the risk of losing a third of each pew when they use words like theology or religion, especially if we use it in a positive way. But clearly I'm a rebel among rebels because I'm just going to have faith that we can be expansive in our definitions. My home church minister, Reverend Nathan Dietering, does this a lot. He offers us definitions because language can get co-opted, right? So let me just take a minute and offer you these if you want them. We can draw from the Latin definition of religion, which means what binds us to each other, perhaps some of us to a higher power. Things like our principles and our values, how we live out those things are examples of what binds us as Unitarian Universalists. We can probably all agree that being connected to each other in that way, acting religiously on our faith tradition, is a positive thing. I love bonding with you and other UUs for this purpose. Continuing with expansive definitions, theology becomes the study of religion, any religion, the exploring, the learning, perhaps the deepening of our own religious feelings. See, nothing scary there. I am going to mention the word confession later, but it really isn't for religious purposes. Back to our shared value of interdependence, which of course refers to our human relationships, as well as the one we have for nature. And here's where we circle back to Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, that Baptist pastor who so greatly influenced our UU theology. That letter which King wrote from his prison was a response to an editorial in the Birmingham News that some kind person had smuggled into his cell. The nonviolent civil rights protest had arrived in town, but was received violently by the police and other authorities. So a lot of the black leadership ended up in jail. The very next morning, there was an editorial titled, "White Clergy Urge Local Negroes to Withdraw from the Demonstrations." It was written by a group of 8 moderate white clergy who had previously supported things like voting rights for black citizens, so it would make sense that King might have thought they had his back. But maybe they lost their courage and responded with fear because they called him an outsider, an agitator, who was essentially stirring up the local Negroes and creating an urgency for their demands for freedom. Slow it down, they implied. Ignore that uppity Dr. King from Atlanta. He's not one of you good Alabama Negroes. To which King wrote, also in the letter, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. You've heard that, right? Imagine the chutzpah of this 34-year-old black pastor from out of town speaking back to the Southern white establishment in words that were then smuggled back out of jail, quickly published, and circulated in pamphlet form. Think of the confusion and disbelief among Americans of all races when King declared that all races are tied together in a network of mutuality. And then here comes that strange conviction that I'll just give you a little bit of one more time. I can never be what I ought to be until you are what you ought to be. And you can never be what you ought to be until I am what I ought to be. You can never be successful until I can be successful. I can never truly be free until you can truly be free. This interdependence is reality, said King. It's just the truth. For people in institution of power in the 1960s, King's reality was hard to accept. And doesn't that sound familiar? How much does our society value interdependence in 2025? There are those of us who might recognize the need for it, but suddenly, doesn't it take all kinds of courage to point it out to those who don't? Hey, wait, we love our diversity. We want our DEI. We value our immigrants as much as they value and need us. We need and value our transgender siblings as much as they need and value a loving and safe community. We need and value our children on food stamps, for they also belong to the generation which will one day soon need to save us. And here's what's become obvious to me, though it's probably always been true. Power likes to separate people into binaries of independent and dependent. With privilege comes independence. Without it comes dependence. Those are clear and clean categories, historical tools which for all kinds of history has caused segregation. Interdependence offers a messier middle ground. It requires vulnerability and trust. It calls us to balance our individual needs with the needs of others, and this is holy work. Interdependence promotes compassion, empathy, equity, and love. And despite popular opinions to the contrary, these are not characteristics of weakness, but the essentials for a happy and sustainable life in any community. So I'm going to end with this confession. My little grandson, Leo, and I have crushes on each other. It might be even a symbiotic relationship, like lichen, at least for now. See, my daughter is a single mom, and she needs respite. So Leo spends a lot of time with his semi-retired grandparents. He is 2.5, so he needs me for a range of things, from diapers to dinner, tubby time to story time. I am 64, and I need him for kissing and snuggling, for chasing and giggling, for dancing in the rain and spotting the moon when it first comes out. I need him for joy. Some of you know this kind of mutual joy and love, maybe from your pets or your dear friends, if not your child or grandchild. Interdependence says that we belong, that we are part of the whole, that we have a purpose. And it also reminds us that all humans from every race, every economics, rich or poor, all creatures, every molecule, every pan in this sacred system of nature does too. So friends, let's become evangelicals in our faith. Give interdependency the hard sell among those non-believers of our time. And let's do so more with our actions than with our words. May we find the courage and grace to do just that together. Amen. And now if you'll rise as you are willing or able, let's sing our last hymn together, number 134, Our World is One World. Friends, we affirm that every one of us is held in creation's hand, a part of the interdependent cosmic web, and hence strangers need not be enemies. And no one is saved until we all are saved. And by all, we mean the whole of creation. So go in love and go in peace and go out to bless this world. May that be so. Amen.